Hey there, welcome back to another review, this time of the 2015 action crime thriller Sicario. Sicario is a film directed by Denis Villeneuve, and it's written by Taylor Sheridan, and it stars Emily Blunt as Kate Macer, Benicio del Toro as Alejandro Gillick, Josh Brolin as Matt Graver, Daniel Kaluuya as Reggie Wayne, no relation to a football player. Maximiliano Hernandez as Silvio, Victor Garber as Dave Jennings, John Bernthal as Ted, the same actor who's going to play the Punisher in the Daredevil Netflix series season 2, and Jeffrey Donovan as Steve Forsing, Raoul Trujillo as Raphael, Julio Cedillo as Fausto Alarcon, and and there's also Bernardo P. Saracino as Manuel Diaz. And that's pretty much it in terms of the cast of the film. It features music by Johan Johansson, it features cinematography by Roger Deakins, and it's edited by Joe Walker. And Sicario is a film that I was interested in ever since I saw the trailer for it, because it looked gritty, it looked dark, it looked violent, it looked like it was unrelenting, and there are films like that, especially in the crime thriller genre, that I really like. I like it when a crime thriller it definitely does add a dose of realism, and this is definitely one of those movies. Uh, and I finally got around to seeing it, and I liked it. I liked the film. For the most part, I thought it was really good. The only problem I really have with it is the fact that I just think it's a little bit too long. Like its pacing is a bit too slow for my tastes, and I could use a little bit of character development, especially for the Emily Blunt character, who's our lead. We don't know much about her except that she's a cop. That's pretty much about it. Who's then taken in onto this whole crazy ride, so to speak, that the film shows you. But pretty much all the performances are good. I mean, Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, Josh Brolin. Um, Especially Del Toro. Del Toro is great as his. It's basically what he is. He's kind of an enforcer, and he ends up becoming a lone wolf by the end of the movie. And when he goes on a singularity revenge spree, and that was pretty well shot and well edited and a good sequence, and I like that. I like Del Toro anyway as an actor, so it's nice to see him in this type of role. I'd probably say it's probably one of the most intense roles I've seen him do since The Hunted. And he really does a good job. He really knocks it out of the park. But yeah, the movie's like 121 minutes, so it is kind of is long on the tooth. Uh, I think it could have been a bit shorter, considering the fact that it's just a very straightforward plot. Pretty much what happens is you have Emily Blunt's character, who is a FBI agent, and her partner Reggie Wayne, played by Daniel Kaluuya. I don't know how to say his last name. And so they go on and they decide to check out this house in Arizona that was owned by a drug dealer, a cartel drug dealer. And the movie opens up with a really, really hard hit because it opens up with they find the house and they find what's inside the walls. And I'm telling you, this hits you hard right off the bat. It just does not flinch away from the violence and from the grit. Because what happens is come in and they find that there's a bunch of dead bodies, like dozens upon dozens of dead bodies that are just propped up inside the walls. And then one of these other agents tries to go in and try to look in the garage and tries to open the cellar, and the cellar door has a bomb in it. So as soon as he tries to open it, it explodes. And then the next shot, which is well directed by Villeneuve, he really did a fantastic job with this film anyway. It's probably one of the more impressive directorial efforts I've seen from 2015. Um, and I'm really curious to see what he'll bring to Blade Runner 2 because he's directing Blade Runner 2. But anyway, so what comes next is a shot straight out of a war zone where it's just like there's just clouds of dust everywhere. this one cop, his head, top of his head got blown off, and then another guy, his arm has just gotten blown off, and it's just laying right beside him. It's just a very intense opening, and it really does grab you right from the beginning. And even it is fascinating from the beginning too, even before you even get to any sort of live action shots, because it opens up with this quote, text this text that crawls across the screen that pretty much tells you what Sicario is. And Sicario in Spanish, it means hitman, which this definitely comes into play later in the movie. So anyway, since Emily Blunt's character and her partner had seen the carnage, seen the dead bodies and everything that's in the cartel owned house in Arizona, here comes this character played by Josh Brolin, who comes in and basically recruits Kate and Reggie to join them and on a little mission to try to find the people who did it, the people who killed all those people. And then it becomes sort of a conspiracy, manipulative sort of movie where it's not what you think it is, don't trust the government, blah 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 blah. Where pretty much Josh Brolin lied to Kate and said that they're going to El Paso, but really they're going to Mexico. So they go to Juarez, and there's a very tense sequence where they're trying to get out of Juarez, and they're stuck in the line to get out of Juarez. So they're stuck in the border line, and they're stuck in traffic. And the film does a great job making this sequence where there's not really that much happening, really tense and really suspenseful, because the fact that there's like a couple cars right next to them who are who are part of the cartel, and they're armed, and you're a sitting duck because you're stuck in traffic. So I thought that was a really well done bit of nail biting suspense. And then pretty much they went to Juarez to get this guy who's related to the big drug dealer guy, the big cartel leader. I think it's his brother. And they try to interrogate him, and they get some information out of him. And then the film just kind of it just kind of starts unraveling more and more of the secrets that Josh Brolin's character isn't who you think he is. He's a member of the CIA. Emily Blunt can't trust people. She at first, she's a little bit too naive. I mean, she goes in when they're trying to find, Bus's money laundering, a little money laundering ring that's being set up by Manuel Diaz. That's the guy they're trying to stop, who's this politician in the United States, and they're trying to catch him uh, directly being with the cartel leader in Juarez. And so, and every now and then the film will cut to this scene with a family in Mexico with this character named Silvio, and it, it it just basically shows the other side of the coin, so to speak. Shows you the life of somebody who's working for a cartel leader, and then pretty much what happens is there's a scene where John Bernthal shows up at a bar that Reggie likes to go to. Reggie brings Emily Blunt's character Kate with him. She thinks he's a nice guy. They have a drink together and start dancing. She goes home with him, and he almost strangles her to death. And she gets saved by Benicio del Toro. And then pretty much the film culminates in this really, they find out where the hideout, basically where the tunnel is, where the cartel guys can smuggle their drugs across the border to the United States. And that leads up to a very tense, very suspenseful, I thought, really memorable sequence. It was like straight out of a horror film where they go in at night, and the CIA guys and the FBI guys, and they all have night vision on, and they also have heat vision. And I really loved how the director Villeneuve and the cinematographer Roger Deakins, they decided, you know what, we're going to shoot a lot of these sequences in night vision and in heat vision. So it really added a lot of atmosphere and mood and really gave the those whole sequences a very unique look and feel to them. I also love the shot before they even go into the heat vision and the night vision, where there's just the soldiers are just walking around, and the sun is setting, and the way the director shot it made it look like the soldiers were just walking straight into darkness. Their shadows just blended in with the darkness. It was such a great shot. I mean, there's so many shots like that. The cinematography in this film is absolutely spectacular. It's really, Roger Deakins does a phenomenal job. The directing by Villeneuve is is taut. It's really well done. You can definitely tell that there's somebody behind the camera who knows what he's doing. And the way he set some of his shots up reminded me of some of the stuff I might have seen from Michael Cimino and some of his other films. It was just very artistic, like some of the shots that he shot in this movie. You could take a picture of them and you put it on a wall, and it's a work of art. It was that really, the direction was that well done in this movie. So anyway, and what really makes this whole sequence of the night vision and the thermal vision really makes it even more tense is the score. And the score of this film I like too. I thought the score was pretty good by Johan Johansson. It wasn't anything that was super memorable, but it really fit the film like a glove. It really added more mood to the film. It really set the mood. It really did. Because it's a pretty dark movie. This is not a movie that's a crowd pleaser. It's not a movie you sit down and watch and you want to have a good time. It's not a popcorn flick. And the score really fits that. It's an unnerving movie, and the score is equally unnerving. Especially in this sequence, it seems like Johan Johansson, he took on he took inspiration possibly from James Horner's score from Aliens, because the way that this score is set up reminded me totally of the sequences in Aliens, where it's building up. You know, when the soldiers, the Marines, they get to LV-426 and they start investigating and looking around. You have this kind of droning score in the background that really is starting to build the suspense, and that's pretty much what the score was in this sequence. It was like the score in Aliens. It was droning, and it was unsettling, and it really was a nice touch. And so what happens is Emily Blunt sees that the real reason why they hired her, and pretty much what it is the American government basically wanted to hire her because she is a citizen and she's a member of the law, so to speak. She's a cop. So as long as she's there, then the CIA and the military, they can do whatever the hell they want to. And what they're planning on doing here, what they did, was they led Del Toro to the cartel. He basically led Del Toro, a lone wolf, a Sicario, to Diaz and to his boss. And the reason why is because Del Toro is on a mission of revenge. Do anything to get revenge for the loss of his wife and his daughter, who were killed by the cartel leader. In fact, his daughter was boiled alive in a vat of acid. And the film does a really good job showing how ruthless the cartel is. Like, there's a scene in Juarez that was straight out of a horror film, like straight out of Predator. Like here, Emily Blunt and the team are driving through Juarez, and they just see hanging over this freeway overpass is but bodies just hung up, strung up, and just hanging, decapitated. And you see heads on sticks and stuff like that, like it's straight out of the pirate days. And yeah, definitely that was definitely pretty intense. It was straight out of a horror film. And so then Del Toro's character, he finds Diaz. He basically, in essence, kidnaps him, forces him to show him where his jefe is, his boss. And then you get this really tense sequence where Del Toro is there, uh, pointing his gun at the cartel leader while he's eating dinner with his family. And I like how the film did not. The film had the balls to do this. Pretty much, Del Toro, he shoots his wife, shoots his kids, and then shoots the cartel leader. And before that, though, the cartel leader's trying to do this kind of guilt trip shit, being like, you know, what do you think? What do you think you're doing? This kind of thing where it's like he's talking to him and he's trying to convince him, why do you think you're just a lawyer? Where do you think I learned these tactics from? Trying to flip things around. But Del Toro isn't having any of it. And the film shot the death of the kids rather tastefully too. It didn't show them getting shot. It just heard the gunshots. And I know some people might have a problem with that sequence. Like, why did the kids have to die? Why did the wife have to die? Why could it just be the drug dealer guy? Because this film was trying to not be your typical everyday Hollywood happy ending. Excuse me. And that makes perfect sense for it to end that way. Especially, you can't have any witnesses. And yes, I feel bad for the kids. Yes, I feel bad for the wife. They're in a sense kind of innocent, but not really. You can't tell me the wife didn't know that her husband was a drug cartel leader. He was a drug kingpin. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, he killed his family. By becoming a drug kingpin, by killing Del Toro's parents, he brought this upon him. He brought the hell to him. You reap what you sow. And that's what happened. And then the film pretty much ends with Del Toro basically coming to Emily Blunt's apartment and telling her, like, earlier she tried to get in Josh Brolin's face and it was like, hey, try to punch him or whatever because he lied to her, manipulated her, and this doesn't fit with her idea of the law. And but then Del Toro catches her in her apartment and basically tries to get her to sign this contract, which pretty much shows that everything that they did was legal. That was by the book. And she's like, I can't do it. And Del Toro is like, puts a gun to her neck. It's like, you're going to do it. I'm going to kill you. And she signs it. And then the last lines of the film are really good. I love these lines. Well, Del Toro's character Alejandro is talking to Emily Blunt, and he's like, "You should move to a small town, somewhere where the rule of law still exists. You will not survive here. You are not a wolf, and this is the land of wolves now." And I was like, "Ooh, like that's like that was a really great quote, really, really good quote. It fit the film perfectly. It was a nice way to end the movie. Emily Blunt then grabs her gun and thinks about shooting Del Toro, but she can't do it. And then that's the end of the movie. That's Sicario. It doesn't seem like much, and that's the kind of reason why I don't think it needed to be as long as it was. There were definitely some things that could have been cut out of the movie. And it is kind of hard to sit through because it is unrelenting. Like, even there's a moment where you think it might be levity, like a scene in the bar, and then that scene is turned on its head because that was all just a setup so John Bernthal could try to get information out of Kate and then ends up trying to strangle her to death. So, I mean, it's one of those, like, there's no let up. It's just consistently dark and consistently gritty and consistently depressing. There's no levity. And, that's why it's a film I probably wouldn't watch that much, but it's still a film I liked because the performances were good, the direction was fantastic, the script was solid. I mean, there's some things that could have been cut out. Cinematography was beautiful, the editing was good. I liked the score, little bits of the score that were there. And but it's not an action movie. I mean, there's some action bits, but it's not really that memorable of an action film. It's more of a crime thriller or a crime thriller drama. So if you're expecting an action movie watching this, you're gonna be very disappointed. I'm just to say that right at the bat, very disappointed because it's not an action film. I don't think it should be marketed as an action movie. I don't like how the fact that it's first on IMDb and at Wikipedia, it's like action crime thriller. It's not really an action film. It's misleading advertising. But I liked it. I liked the fact that it showed, hey, vigilante justice. Reminded me of a film that I also really like called Cold in July. I'd probably say I like that more than this, but I still like the movie. Um, if you ask me about the whole validity or the whole, is it right? The whole moral issues that the film brings up. I honestly, for me personally, when you break the law, when you do stuff like boil little girls alive in fucking acid, I don't give a fuck about your morals. I don't give a fuck about your rights. I mean, if in order to stop your reign of terror, we had to send a vigilante lone wolf to take your ass out, I'm okay with it. I would have signed that contract without any problems. Uh, if Del Toro said, "Hey, sign this," it shows that we did everything by the book. I would sign it. It doesn't mean that I'm some morally bankrupt person. It just means that, hey, I'm sorry. I mean, you got to do what you have to do, just like it was in Cold in July. I mean, he was the guy was in the witness protection program. No one's going to stop him. The law wasn't going to stop him. So you had to take the law into your own hands and stop him. I'm not saying you do that all the time, but there are some instances where you have to break the law. You have to break the law in order to stop a reign of terror, and I'm fine with that. If you need to do whatever you need to do to stop somebody's reign of terror, and if that means going beyond the boundaries of law and justice, I can justify that. Because why are we worried about justice and worried about following the law when it comes to capturing somebody who's thinks they're above the law anyway and is over in Mexico and they're not in our jurisdiction, and it would be almost impossible for us to prosecute the guy or let alone arrest him and take care of him and get rid of him. So why not? Why not send a victim of his who's been had his family taken away to take his ass out? Fine with it. I don't understand what the whole conflict is about that Emily Blunt's character is dealing with. Oh, boo-hoo! Oh, I was lied to. The law isn't always 100% justified. Oh, the law isn't. I can't trust the law. That whole sort of stuff. Like I didn't do my job or whatever. It's like, you know that. You know that the world isn't all goody two shoes. I mean, the law and cops and CIA. You know that stuff is dirty. You know that stuff's done behind the scenes. You know that there's stuff that's done, behind closed doors or classified stuff that, they break the law. They bend the rules. But it's understandable. You got to do what you got to do to stop this drug cartel leader from fucking up more people's lives. I mean, the moment this drug cartel leader decided to, hey, I'm going to kill and murder people, I'm going to string people up on ropes, I'm going to burn people alive at acid, I'm going to get people addicted to all these drugs and all this awful shit, and I'm going to make money off of people's pain and suffering. I don't give a shit about his fucking rights or his law or whatever, I don't care. He gave that up the moment he decided to break every law known to man. So that's just the thing. That's just how I look at it, really. Kind of like Dirty Harry in that regard. Dirty Harry wouldn't give a shit. He'd be like, "Hey, why do they get rights? This guy's fucking killing people. He's a murderer. Who gives a shit about his rights? He lost his rights the moment he decided to break the law." Um, but there are instances where people are innocent and then they're convicted, and then I understand why the law is there, why, due process and whatever, all of that. But when it comes to somebody who's got caught red-handed and is like some kind of drug dealing, psychopath, I mean, really? I mean, I'm supposed to feel bad that he got gunned down in a way that wasn't technically legal? No, I don't. I don't feel bad. See, that's what the film tries to make you feel like, oh, I feel bad. I don't feel bad at all. I mean, it was just a fucked in the head. I don't know. But that's just how I look at it. I'm fine with other people who feel that that's wrong and the government shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be breaking our own laws in order to stop people from breaking laws. But in a way, in Juarez, there was a lot of shots in this film that really showed you that It's a war. It's a war zone. It's not. We're not even. It's the drug war. It is a drug war. It is a real war. So yeah, it was definitely a film that made you think. Made you think. I mean, it made me think. It made me realize that, I don't give a shit about his rights. I don't care. I'm not crying. I'm like, oh, I can't sign that. Why not? You think his reign of terror is going to be stopped by bureaucratic law? Do you think it's going to be stopped? Like, no. You have to take the law into our own hands and fucking stop the guy. Should be glad that the the United States that the justice system and the CIA and FBI thought that, you know what? This is one instance where it's worth going above the law in order to stop a guy who thinks he's above the law. You think you're above the law, but you ain't above mine. That kind of thing. I mean, come on. But anyway, I really don't know what to say about the movie, except it was a rate out of 5 stars. I give the movie 4 out of 5. I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. I liked the performances. I liked the direction. A lot of the other elements of the movie. But it's a bit long. It's paced a bit too slow for my taste at times. And but other than that, that. I don't really have any other problems with the movie. Could have had a little bit more action, a little bit. Could have paced a little bit better. More character development with the characters. But other than that, I liked it. It was a good movie. Anyway, thank you for watching my review of Sicario, and I will see you guys later. See ya.